You mentioned some terms. You mentioned West Bank. I think another term that's often used is occupied territories. And tell us why it's so important that we shouldn't use these terms. If we want to stand with Israel, we need to refer to it as Judea and Samaria. Tell us why that's important.
Okay, so first let's talk about what these terms mean and where they came from. The West Bank, that's a term that was first assigned to this area by Jordan. We mentioned that Jordan illegally occupied this area from 1948 to 1967 as a result of a war that it in fact initiated. It was the aggressor in a war and then illegally occupied and annexed this area. And that annexation, by the way, was never recognized anywhere in the world except for by Great Britain and Pakistan. Even the rest of the Arab countries did not recognize Jordanian annexation of this area. When Jordan called it the West Bank, it was actually interesting. Before Israel became a state, Jordan was referred to as Transjordan, which is an English translation of the biblical term across the Jordan. And as you well know, the Jordan River would divide two parts of what was biblical Israel, east of the Jordan and west of the Jordan. And very often, the part east of the Jordan would be called across the Jordan, which is Transjordan. So that was the original name that the British gave to the state, and that was its name. After Israel became a state and after the War of Independence, Jordan then seized this area to the west of the Jordan. So the name Transjordan was no longer appropriate, so they abandoned that name and called themselves Jordan. Jordan made up of two sections, the East Bank, which is Jordan as we know it today, and the West Bank, which is this area in west of the Jordan that they had occupied. So if anything, the word West Bank refers to Jordan's claim to the land, which even today Jordan has repudiated. It refers to the annexation of an area and making it part of Jordan that even the entire international community and almost all of the Arab nations rejected. So the name it just doesn't make sense. It's an anachronism, and it doesn't fit any situation we have today. Now, the reason that the Arab world and following the Arab world, the international community doesn't like to use the word Judea and Samaria, which is the accurate name, the historical name. You go to ancient documents, this is the name you're going to see, because let's take the word Judea, for example. Judea refers to the area that's Jerusalem and south of Jerusalem. That is the name because it was the area of the biblical tribe of Judah. Now, today, a Jew, the word Jew, comes from Judah, Judea. That's the source of the name. So if they were to recognize the name Judea, they would be hard-pressed to then say, oh, Judea doesn't belong to the Jews, because the very name itself indicates that this is the original biblical land or historical land of the Jews. So that's part of what's going on here. By using West Bank, you are confirming a claim that no longer exists. But maybe now that claim is, the truth of the matter is the Palestinians want to call the area Palestine. Okay. And that takes us to what the occupied territories, people refer to it OPT, occupied Palestinian territories, because what they are saying is that it is all Palestine. Palestine, by definition, is Arab. And therefore, any part of Palestine that is now controlled by Israel is occupied territory. Now, one of the things that you may notice, whereas the international community, for the most part, recognized Israel's right to exist in areas other than in Judea and Samaria, to the north, west, and south of Judea and Samaria, the Arab world considers, with the exception of the few countries who have signed peace treaties with Israel, the rest of the Arab world, and certainly the Palestinians, when they refer to occupied Palestinian territory, they are referring to all of Israel today, including Judea and Samaria. Because for them, it is all Palestine, and it is all being illegally occupied by Israel. So again, this is a term that's feeding into a very anti-Semitic, anti-Israel narrative that is not something that we want to be supporting. Let's go back to the original, accurate geographical terms, Judea and Samaria.
Great clarification, and you know what? Even I, in the early days of my connecting with Israel and back and forth, I used to use that term West Bank, and it was important for me to learn and understand why. that we shouldn't use those terms. And I love the fact that you actually mentioned that Jordan itself has repudiated any claim that they have to that area. So why should it be called that anymore if that's where the term came from?